An Australian veteran who served in Afghanistan from 2012 to 2013 is desperately fighting for his interpreter and a long list of others. Despite the Taliban insisting it's changed, Afghans say there is a hit list and they're going door to door hunting down anyone who served with Australia and its allies.
A few days ago, the Taliban received the night threat letter to me, and there is mention, you have not a big life, you don't wait for a long time, as soon as possible I will kill you, you and your family.
Joining me live now is Australian veteran Jason Skanes. Thanks so much for your time, Jason. That clip we just showed everyone there was a man you worked with and his son. What is his situation at the moment?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Laura. And look, the situation at the moment for Hassan and many of the other interpreters at the moment, a lot of them are holed up in Kabul, and there is an absolute feeling of desperation and fear for those interpreters that are on the ground at the moment. Many of them have been sleeping on the ground overnight, waiting at the airport. There's reports that the Taliban have set up a checkpoint at the main gate of the airport, so the chances of these interpreters getting in is pretty slim, and you know it's just really concerning. And the government, I know, says that we're not going to be able to reach all of these interpreters, and the Prime Minister is quite right when he says that. But I would say that I've provided a list of around 100 interpreters and other aid workers that are in Kabul, and many of them will be waiting outside the gate at the airport. And there is an opportunity. We won't reach them all, but we can get those that are there now.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I know you've been speaking to a number of these people on the ground, not just the interpreter that you work so closely with. What are they saying about the Taliban? Because we see this big media conference, 45 minutes long, a Taliban telling the world it's changed and that there will be no revenge, and those who work with the Americans and the Australians will be pardoned. But these interpreters are telling me and you very different things, aren't they?
Absolutely, and yeah, I think it'd be a foolish government or anybody to trust the Taliban. I've seen firsthand the reprisals that are being exacted against these interpreters, and it's not a pretty sight, and it's not something that you can show to the public. But it is very public, very barbaric displays, and we've known about this type of a suggestion by the Taliban that they will not exact any reprisals against these individuals. And 2 weeks ago, I was getting reports from Kandahar that government officials were going in to see the local commander resigning from their job, and getting a letter from that local Taliban commander to say that they will not be harmed. And then several days later, that person's going missing and winds up dead. So I would not be trusting the word of a terrorist group.
Indeed. And look, you've been sent photos and videos, as have I, and they are not anywhere close to public consumption. But could you try and paint a picture for our audience of just what these people are facing?
Oh, the reprisals that they're facing is absolutely horrific for them and their families. As I said, reports last week coming through that the Taliban were going door to door. They were enlisting the help of local children to point out those people that were associated with coalition forces or the Afghan government, and they were going door to door and exacting their reprisals on those individuals, providing threat letters. And even taking young girls as young as 10 and giving them as prizes to Taliban commanders. I mean, it's just horrific what is going on over there at the moment.
Oh, it certainly is. And look, it's a day-to-day proposition for many of these Afghans who worked with coalition forces. I don't have a handle on how many people will be rescued for this Australian mission. I am told there's 300 to 400, and this is from official sources, that are on the list to be rescued. Is that going to be enough?
No, look, I don't think that's anywhere near enough. And I mean, if we're going in and we're there anyway, I mean, how hard is it to put on an extra flight or two? You know, the security there at the airport now, you're already putting a plane on the ground or two. It's not hard to run an extra flight or so to make sure that we get specifically those interpreters and other aid workers and the Kabul embassy guards and their families out. This should have happened when the last C-17 Globemaster left with our troops. We should not have left without and pulled our troops out without having taken all of those that had provided that assistance. And these interpreters are our mates. They've assisted us and our diggers on the battlefield. They are now the product of a failed visa certification process. And I think the assertion by anyone in government that these individuals are Taliban sympathisers or maybe playing for the other side is just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, can I just ask you about that? Can I just ask you about that? Because Afghanistan is a complicated country. Survival is complicated in Afghanistan at the best of times. Is it not reasonable to think that in the intervening years, these interpreters who've worked with and for Australia in the intervening 10 years maybe haven't turned to the Taliban just for survival?
Look, I think what the Afghans are very good at is surviving and mixing in, and I think it's absolutely wrong of government, of our ministers, to be making those assertions. These individuals assisted us on the battlefield. Many of them wore the Australian combat uniform with our troops side by side, and I would say if they've been remaining in Afghanistan for many, many years, and the minister now believes that they may be playing for the other side, I would suggest that they should have reviewed the visa certification process and got these people out to safety instead of leaving them there to swing in the wind in Afghanistan.
Look, and the government needs to be given credit for getting hundreds out. I think more than 1,800 have been resettled in Australia. Not resettled, they've been evacuated to Australia. Yesterday, the Prime Minister was asked about the visa status of the Afghans that have been able to get out, that we have helped get out. And there was no guarantee that they'd be given any certainty to stay in Australia. It is the standard response of they won't be sent back when the circumstances are so uncertain. Is there an argument here to give them resettlement status in Australia?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and you know it is a very separate issue. The temporary protection visas is very separate to the Lee visas. The Lee visas and those brought in under that program, around 1,800, I think the government's currently marketing. Around 1,800 of those individuals have been arrived here and resettled under the Lee visa program, which is a permanent resettlement. Then there are those other Afghans that have sought protection and other humanitarian visa pathways, and that's I think around 4,000 of those individuals are here in Australia. And I always note the language of government. And yesterday they said, Maurice Payne said that they will not be sending these people on protection visas, temporary protection visas here in Australia, back to Afghanistan at this stage. I mean, you know, you've always got to listen to the at this stage points of those that are made.